Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Yitian from Alibaba Cloud. Yes, have anybody heard about Alibaba Cloud? Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. It's getting better every time. Yeah, so yeah, Alibaba Cloud as similar, we actually are from the public cloud providers from the East. So similar with AWS, and now actually we are come to land in the UK market, and we had data centers in the UK, the 2 data centers around London. So we are starting doing business in here. So today's topic is talking about the multi-cloud. So as everybody knows, and it's the cloud is hot topics years ago. So now it's a lot of companies, or a lot of my customers actually come to me say that how can I actually yes, if I choose the AWS, and why should I choose Alibaba Cloud or Google's or Microsoft? That's actually good questions. So I just list a few. So first of all, it's avoid vendor lock-in. So a lot of enterprise don't want to be locked in one cloud vendors. And the second thing is about cost optimization. So you didn't choose the different price, some cloud providers have different pricing models. So choose different cloud providers actually can lower your info costs. And the third thing is quite obviously you can leverage different cloud as vendors advantage. Alibaba Cloud in China, so we actually are very good at big data and data mining stuff. And Google's very good at AIs, and Azum's tied with the Microsoft SharePoint, and AWS have most comprehensive portfolios of the products. And the fourth things and the fifth items, and this is actually come to my customer very often. So because in China and in the East Asian regions, and Azum and Google don't have strong presences as Alibaba Cloud. So how actually they want thinking about how to actually deploy the application globally and roll out fast. That's actually quite big problems for some of my customers, a large globalized organization. Yeah. So apart from this kind of good things, and why if you choose the multi-cloud, of course there are some a few issues architecture complexities, and when you actually choosing different cloud, you have to manage different cloud vendors and set up accounts and do lots of overhead works. We don't want to do that. And the second thing is, of course, you actually lead actually the second thing, which is increase the maintenance costs. And then will be also have the third things, of course, how to actually to synchronize the different the data in the different cloud vendors. Okay. So now actually currently I think as more and more become popular is about this CNCF, the Cloud Native Computer Foundations. Anybody heard about that? I think this is actually come from the this is actually same communities actually has developed the Kubernetes. So they actually list kind of 10 things about the 10 items about how actually to develop cloud native apps or provide kind of cloud native environment. The first thing is obviously containerization. Yeah, using Docker or Kubernetes to containerize your applications. The second thing is CI/CDs, which I think is quite relevantly talk about this topic, this kind of community here. And orchestrations and observations analysts. Oh yes, it's quite strange. They don't know nothing about the security. Sorry. Yeah, maybe it's different community. but yeah, this kind of I think is I normally is looking at from the first containerizations, CI/CDs and orchestrations and observations. This kind of 4 different hot topics, and my customers always ask me when I do the this kind of cloud native apps and deploy in the different. It's actually using that actually can solve sort of this kind of a multi-cloud issues, which can lower the cost. Because this kind of if you're using the containerizations and if you're using the same CI/CDs, and if you're using the Terraforms, Assemble, this kind of orchestration tools, you actually can virtualize this kind of infrastructure providers, or so that's kind of ways to avoid this kind of different management costs. I would say that. Yeah. And that's actually about the Alibaba like a global distribution, looking from the like a global map. So obviously you can see that in here, so we have very strong presences in the Asia Pacific area. That's why so a lot of like big companies. I have few big organizations, big organization customers. When they actually want to go China or go east, they will choose in Alibaba Cloud. And especially in China, well, you know, there's like great firewalls, cyber firewalls. So when the data is coming and out of China, so they always has been secretly scanned by government. So, yeah, don't ask me why, but I hate that. And but this kind of things actually is when you actually go China, so you rather choosing the like Google's there's no presence in China, and Azum's and AWS they don't have like the full functionalities working in the China market, and especially like in the east, and they have like less data centers. So how actually can solve that? They always come to Alibaba's and find a solution. And here is kind of like Alibaba, or we have like a quite comprehensive product portfolios. So as we can see here, so we have like a computing, network, storage, database, DevOps, big data, application service, monitoring, security. So we categorize that, and we like have this kind of like 90% or 80% of like a mapping with AWS. So once like you have familiar with like AWS service, and will take like 1 or 2 days, you will familiar our products. So that's kind of like a ways which we actually can avoid. This is kind of like a learning curve, or we'll say that, yeah. This is kind of like a Alibaba Cloud provisioning. So also from the left-hand side, as like the DevOps or like DevOps engineers, they are publishing their YAML files into the Bitbuckets and using Jenkins and pushing to the Terraforms. And suddenly, so you actually can like provisionings like a Terraform, the Kubernetes clusters in their testing environment or production environment. And I think as different cloud, you only need to like manage is like slightly different Terraform files, and apart from that, everything's underneath. You shouldn't care about that. Okay. And this is about this the DevOps toolchains, slightly similar than the last ones. And as on the left-hand side, the developers pushing their code into the Jenkins. Jenkins make like a doc image and push into the Alibaba Cloud the registries, and then you actually can deploy in the testing environment and the production environment. So this is like overall, we actually work. I want to highlight that. So I was suggest to customers, if you're choosing the like multi-cloud strategies and you want to prevent this kind of like a vendor lock-ins, I'd rather ask you than using like third-party tools. And so for example, if you like if you stick with like a cloud formation, sometimes you have to lock with AWS. And for me, it's rather than using like a Terraforms and using like third parties Jenkins Kubernetes tools as a deployment. Okay. And this is kind of like a real life case, and I was like build with my customers. So on the left-hand side is like IT solution owners will be create an account and sync with their like 80 active directories, and then we will be using like Alibaba's RAM, which is a resource access management, ESX, and it's like the AWS IAM. So yeah, and then we'll be using that using third-party tools. Anybody heard about the Ranch? It's kind of like a multi-cluster management put on the Kubernetes. So it's also actually is integrated with Alibaba Cloud clusters. So using that, actually is you can manage the Kubernetes service and in Alibaba Cloud. And over that, and this is like a CI/CD toolchains, which I showed that in the previous slides. And all the logs will be pushed into the log service. And also, I'm missing this part. I always like ask our customers to put in that into like a Splunk, Sumo Logic, and Elasticsearch. So purely like you just need to focus in that you need to manage your like user count, like securities, and understand which regions you want to deploy. And after that, it's quite smooth, and you can roll out your application globally. Okay, so let's have some demos about that one. Okay, this is fun part. Okay, yeah. So we'll show the. Yeah, so this is like the GitHub from the Alibaba's how-to. So this is like the Alibaba Cloud how-to DevOps hub. And the first like some tutorials I want to show. I don't want to like a provision in the range. It will take like 5-10 minutes, and also the Kubernetes clusters. So basically, it's what actually is this code is doing is actually is using the Terraforms, spinning the range ECS, spinning the range in the virtual machines, and also spinning the like like the Kubernetes clusters in Alibaba Cloud. And it's just have like a few lines, and you can deploy the code, provision in your environment in around 50 minutes. Yes, and you just need to choose which regions and your access keys. This is anything you need to do. Yeah, and after that, and when the range is been provisioning, so if someone's familiar with range, here we go. Yeah, you just need to add the clusters, because in the previous the examples, as I mentioned that the cluster is this is actually create like the range server and plus the Kubernetes cluster in Alibaba Cloud. And now this is actually you actually can import your existing clusters from Alibaba Cloud. So testing. Yeah, so this is only you actually need to code this, copy these lines and put that into put that into your command terminals, and then the clusters will be integrated with your Kubernetes. Yeah. This is kind of like examples I already set up, and I set up these clusters in Singapore. So yeah. And this is actually was like I quite like this range, to be honest, because this is kind of like a centralized controls, and doesn't matter which cloud providers like cluster providers you're having, the same user interface, and you actually can add your AWS clusters in here, and Google Assumes doesn't matter. You actually have like a central place to manage that. Yeah. And it's actually integrated quite a lot of good tools like alarm, logins, monitoring, so on and so forth. Yeah. I just quickly show about that. This is the cluster. Yeah. Sorry about that. This control, I messed up that this morning. So yeah. So we have I import this. I import that, and this is the Kubernetes versions 11.5, and we have 2 nodes. Yep. So 200 ports and the memory usage. So it's give you quite clear views what's happening in the clusters and in the single console. Yeah. And I proved that we also have, this is kind of like there's Alibaba's Kubernetes clusters consoles in here as to say that 2 nodes, and this is have 2 nodes, Yeah, I don't go to the details, but if you want to play that, you actually can create like account to play that. It's we actually offer free credits for the new users, and yeah, it's for the new users. Yeah. So yeah, and here, so if I go to the range, so I think I deployed some go to the project. And I had, you actually can deploy like a different, like some applications is already made, already actually it's been packaged. So that's also quite good. And normally I was using this like a Kubernetes dashboard to view that, but it's already built in the range, so I just skip that. And also I have this GraphNAS, which is like monitoring tools to view that, and so everything is quite simple and very straightforward through this console here. And yeah, and also we actually, so I deployed some Jenkins in here, so sorry. Oops. Enemy. Yeah, sorry, demo effects. Yeah. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, also have to manage the different admin words. Yeah. So yeah, it's like we have the demo pipelines was being built, and it's been deployed in the clusters. So that's actually is quite was like quite like fancy to using that tool. So it's basically kind of like a virtualized the path layers from the AWS from the Azure's, and it's for you that quite like easy to manage that. Yeah. So, this is just like a quick demos. Quick demos I was showing. So, and this is the like some like MVP programs like Alibaba's provide. So, so it's kind of like a security champion. So it's like similar with Alibaba in the Alibaba terms. So if you have like if you want to like join Alibaba's MVP program, so it's I will give you some like quite a good benefits, and you have like some getting some T-shirts, supporting service, one-to-one technical sessions, and you actually have this can visit even our Hangzhou headquarters. It's quite large, yeah. And if you can scan that, you can apply that. If you basically, so we will know that what kind of experience using Alibaba Cloud, and if you have like do some good projects, and we will this kind of like some criteria, we will be select that from the like candidates. Then will be announced that who's the MVP like an MVP candidates every year, yeah. So this is actually like some Slack channels I just created yesterday. So it's if you scan that, if you have like we will give you some like free credits to using Alibaba Cloud and to play with the tools. And yeah, if you have any questions, and just let us know. And we will be in Common Gardens. We office in the Common Gardens, by the way. Yeah. So we will have like you can sit down with me and grab coffees or beers, and we can have like some talks. Yeah. So that's it.